Not necessarily budget related, but related to our non-meeting that we had yesterday. Actually came to my attention today, because I don't go on social media. Actually, my wife brought it to my attention that there was some stuff posted today that looks eerily similar to some things we spoke about at the meeting yesterday. That concerns me from a confidentiality standpoint. So I'd like to make a motion that we have Ed Kaplan take a look at this information just to make sure that we're okay as a board.
Second.
So I basically said what it is. It's without divulging anything, it comes from one of the members of the board, but it looks identical to something we spoke about yesterday. So I have a concern about it. Obviously that affects our negotiations, etc. So it's something that I think he needs to look at. And if he says it's fine, that's fine, but I'm just have concerns.
Madam Chair, is my issue that I asked Dr. Littlefield for a written opinion from Ed Kaplan regarding our ability to assign kids to a school if the board approves but not approved by voters, is that being pursued?
We have a motion on the floor. We need to stick with the motion on the floor. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to it. Before I vote on it, I'd like to know what it is and who posted it.
Yeah, well, like I say, David, I was trying to be as confidential as possible, but I can tell you, his name's on it. It's John that posted it, and I can give you a copy of it. And actually, the issue was brought up by you. I highlighted this section.
Well, I don't understand how Ed Kaplan or anybody else is going to prove that this information came from that meeting. So I'm not going to support the motion because I think you're going to get an inconclusive answer. I think if you look at it as there are 100 theories going around about how high school is going to work at Hooksett.
David, there's no way someone gets that, a regular person in town. There's no way.
That's your opinion, Phil.
That was your question that you brought up, and it's identical to what you asked and Ed answered yesterday. Identical.
I don't agree.
There being no further discussion, I will call this motion to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Motion carries 3-1. Mr. Dembo, do you have any information?
Anybody can get it. It's on 3 different spots on the internet.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
to address my question that I started earlier, is my request being fulfilled to get a legal opinion about the assignment of students to schools if the board approves a contract but it hasn't been approved yet by the voters?
Who is the question directed to?
Well, I guess Dr.
In between water and all that way along.
Madam Chair, in the light that Mr. Liscars was late, I think that it's only fair to the board to inform him of the motion that was taken regarding him and the lawyer in his absence.
Leanne, could you please read the motion that we passed prior to Mr. Liscars arriving?
So, Bill Dembo motion to request an opinion from Attorney Kaplan regarding the legality of a posting on a social media site, which is very similar to what was discussed during the board's non-meeting yesterday. Is that good?
Close enough.
Seconded by Cheryl. And the vote was 3-1.
And I just want to make it known, I didn't say it was Mr. Liscars. I said it was a board member, and then David mentioned.
I didn't put that in the motion.
Oh, no. I did not mention it was Mr. Liscars. I said who was it.
Who it was and what the content was. I tried to make it vague, David, and you made it
Yes,
unvague.
you're right, Phil. You tried to make it vague, and I asked for specifics. Perhaps you would also like to show Mr. Liscars the paper you showed us so that he's fully aware of what happened, what's going on.
That's what it feels.
So I'd like to make a public statement about this. This posting has nothing to do with our meeting yesterday. I take confidentiality very seriously. We have been discussing all of the information here all along, and I can show you public record at this board about everything that's in this document. So if anybody'd like to challenge me, if that's Mr. Dembo or the lawyer, it doesn't matter. There's nothing in here that has anything to do with our meeting yesterday. So that's what my public statement is, and I'll stand behind that. Thank you.
That you met with, how that went.
Madam Chair, I'd like to clarify a subject we were talking about earlier. I have a question for Mr. Dembo about his accusation to Mr. Liscard. Mr. Dembo, you said you don't go on social media, and your wife did. How did your wife know that what she saw was alarming and was possibly from a confidential meeting?
She saw the post and looked at the specifics and assumed that someone that was going to put those type of specifics had more information than someone else.
I find that very
And
hard.
I don't go on social media again.
I find that very hard to believe with all the posts that are out there for Mr. Liscard, that she would have the knowledge to find that one alarming if she didn't have knowledge of what had happened in the meeting.
She goes on there once a day, and like I say, I stay away from it. And I didn't make an accusation at all. You're the one who made it an issue. I tried to make it quiet and said I would just like the attorney to look at this, and you're the one that tossed John's name out there, etc. I wanted to keep it quiet and just make sure that our butts are covered, that's all.
So your wife looked at that and saw, because it was such detail, that it must have come from a meeting from the prior night that was confidential, and that's what you're basing your accusation on.
What I said was, when you look at it, the concepts that are presented in there aren't something that a layperson would come up with, and that's why my wife, her hair went up, and she said, hey, take a look at this.
Yeah,
That's all I gotta say.
Mr. Liscard has come up with 50 concepts. Anybody that has listened to Mr. Liscard knows he has plans for all kinds of contingencies. It concerns me that someone that was not at that meeting, that was on social media, recognized that as a possible violation. Thank you.